This week our passage is James 4, 1 to 6. If you'll look on the screen, I have the phrasing over on the left-hand side with my semantic functions. And then we have the textbook on the right-hand side. We'll cover this. We'll use this for the next 2 weeks. But we're only going through verse 6 today. All right, let's take a look at this, class. First of all, we see that James opens chapter 4 with a question. Duval and Hayes call this rhetorical, so that's why I'm using the nomenclature of rhetorical. So, from where come the polemics or the war, and from where are the fightings among you? In other words, what is the source of this kind of action in the church? So he asks another rhetorical question, but he's expecting a positive answer. And you'll notice I put that there in the phrasing. He asks then, are they not coming from out of the passions, hedonon, from where we often get our word hedonism, okay? Don't they come from the passions, your passions? And then here's your participle with the article, the ones waging war, those passions waging war among your members. And he is anticipating with the uk, right here, he's anticipating a positive answer. Now, had he used may, he would be anticipating a negative answer. Okay, so it's the warrings and the fightings are coming from their passions that arise from among themselves. So he makes several assertions in verse 2. You desire and you don't have, so you murder. In other words, you want something somebody else has, so you murder. Now the question is, it's not literally killing them, but it's warring out, lashing out, criticizing, this kind of thing. You're murdering their character, right? Well, that's the result. You desired, you don't have, so the result is you just tear someone down. The next assertion, you seek and you are not able to obtain. So you fight and you wage war. And there's these two words, the verb forms of these nouns that we saw in verse 1 of chapter 4. Then thirdly, we have this as a restatement of verse 2, that first section. You do not have because you do not ask. Okay? Now he expands on that. You ask and you don't receive. Why? Because you ask evilly or wrongly. Kakos. And here's the purpose. So that you may spend it, so that you might spend it. There's your subjunctive. See the subjunctive ending right there. So that you might spend it on your, pronoun, your hedonism, on your pleasures. All right. Verse 4 asks another rhetorical question. He says, you adulterers, do you not know that the friend of the world, and pick up your verb here, is enmity or enemy of God? Okay, rhetorical question. And the contrasting there, if you're a friend of the world, contrast that against being, now you're an enemy of God. So the condition here is here in the in 4b. If someone therefore desires to be, your infinitive, to be a friend of the world, then contrast it. Then he becomes an enemy of God. Then the rhetorical expansion in 4:5, he says, now this verse is a little tougher. Do you think that vainly or emptily the scripture says, and then here's your verification from scripture, that he desires jealously? Now who's the he? It's inferred to be God because he's going to state God in verse 6. So the implied subject here, it's inferred that it is God. Okay, so that's why the NIV there just go ahead and puts God as the subject, though you don't see theos here, but you do see it down here. Okay, so by implication, God is the subject. So again, do you think that the scripture is vain when it says that he longs, that God longs, he's jealously desiring the Spirit which dwells in you, dwells or lives in you? Okay, he follows that up in verse 4:6. Therefore, and then mizona is a comparative adjective, but he gives greater grace. But does he not give greater grace? And of course, it's by implication, the answer is yes. And then we come in with the final verse here. Therefore, it says that God, antitacetai, stands against the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. All right, great little lesson there. You can see my outline, my sermon outline here. I chose to make a 2-point outline. You can view that. These answers are also in the shell. So that's our phrasing for this week. Pretty straightforward, and hope that you can get a good message out of this.